Hello and welcome, Rangers. I'm Joe here from my co-host Dan.
Hello and greetings.
And we have a new video for you all. This time, it'll be, the Rangers making their way to the command center, which, first off, we got to get into the fact that they lose their powers. And what I love about that scene is that, they kind of, the powers start winking out, and the Rangers kind of stare at their hands in surprise and stare at each other before the powers just wink out completely. This is a great moment. This is one in which you're kind of feeling the shock and you're understanding that they would be confused and lost and horrified as the realization of what's happened sinks in. And what's happened is that the command center's been knocked down, offline. Because this is not the great powers. They do not draw power from themselves. They draw power from the command center. And I would argue this is the fatal flaw of scientific morphers, such as the turbo powers, the original powers, Lightspeed Rescue. You knock down the command center, no more Power Rangers, and that's the problem. Whereas with, let's say, Lost Galaxy, actually, in space, you knock down the command center, no more Rangers. But Lost Galaxy, good luck. You got to destroy the Quasar Sword and the Morpher. Not as easy as it looks. And the repercussions and the backlash ain't going to be fun. And can you imagine trying to destroy the Morpher for the Phaedos powers? That'd probably tear the universe apart. And probably kill the Ranger. But then again, I don't know if destroying the Morpher would be enough, because the Morpher is basically just an extension of themselves. The Morpher is an extension of themselves, so it's like, nah, you have to kill the Ranger. Good luck. But the interesting thing is that where the characters are ultimately shocked, naturally, they immediately realize something's gone wrong. Kimberly even verbalizes that. And at least I think it was Kimberly, or it's Aisha, but one of the girls mentions, something's gone wrong. And, they got to get out of there. So they mosey on over to the command center, where they find, that they have to pry the doors open, at which point a spark goes off. And I love how Kim just instinctively screams. And it's more an act of surprise. And I love how, as they're going through, they're just staring around in a daze, evidently horrified that a place they've almost grown up with is utterly smashed to heck. There's no coming back from this in terms of repairs and whatnot.
Even that didn't deal this much damage.
Yeah. Not even Tommy as a Green Ranger ever could deal this kind of damage. And the problem is, you had the main villain who got inside, and this is the sort of damage he would inflict upon the place. And he just destroyed everything. There's not a command center left to an extent. Well, there is the structure. I would argue he probably could have leveled the whole place, but he left it intact as a mocking act. And he left because he didn't want to just kill Zordon. He wants Zordon to die and bleed away slowly and horribly outside his time warp. This is the cruelest act he could do to Zordon. Of course, Alpha's damaged. And so you get here a sense of the evil. And as I have plans for a fiction guide over on Substack explaining you need at least one great evil act by the villain to solidify that they are evil, and to solidify them as villains and as a threat to the hero. This is the great evil act of Ivan Ooze, torturing and mortally wounding Zordon, or at least ripping him out of his time warp and leaving him there to die, after torturing him, of course. Zordon is dying, and he's broken. as we see when the Rangers race over to his side. And he ends up telling them brokenly, the morphers, the Zords, they are gone. And he even says, Ivan Ooze has won. Which, the fact that Zordon's ready and willing to concede defeat. He doesn't see any, way of winning. Now, arguably, I'd say this is kind of tied in with Tommy in a way, in that a lot of Zordon's vitality went into Tommy with the white morpher. So there's a part of Zordon that's in Tommy, not in Zordon, in a way. But the part that was in Tommy has died now with the morphers. And the rest of Zordon is dying because, outside his time warp. And he's been tortured and broken psychologically and even physically. He can't move anymore. His back must be broken. So he can't limp around. He's just left lying there, just staring up at the ceiling. It's pretty horrible. And he just doesn't have any hope. And that's the worst part, because throughout the TV series, he always had hope. Even when he dies in space, he has hope. Here, he has none. He counsels the Rangers to, you must be strong, but he's basically counseling, give up. It's over. He's no longer giving wise counsel. He's just lying there, waiting to die, and telling the Rangers, it's over. Give up. He does the one thing no mentor should ever do. But this is where we have to remember, he's on his own hero's journey like all mentors are. He has his own arc. And this is his lowest hour. This is him when he falls into the pit, so to speak. And the Rangers are shocked that, the one who's always told them to be strong and who's held them up and helped them back to their feet in their darkest hours is counseling for them to give up. Now, of course, Kimberly's the one who speaks out, reminding him, you've been like a father to us. Some of them, like Tommy, he's an orphan. Kimberly doesn't have a father, really, to an extent. Well, her father's absentee and is divorced from her mother. She spends more time with her grandmother in a lot of ways. You've got, you've got Billy, who's close to his dad. Same with the Stone Canyon Trio, from what we understand. But at the same time, we never really see them on screen. These kids spend a lot of time away from their parents. So there is a connection between them and Zordon that there isn't with their actual parents. And we also have to bear in mind, at least with Tommy, I also have to relate back to him. Tommy, we have to remember he has that spirit quest in Zeo with reconnecting with his ancestors. So Tommy's kind of lost in the darkness in a way, because he's an orphan who was left on the side of the road after his parents died. And his brother and him have been separated since Tommy was probably younger than 3 years old. Him and Kimberly are lost. You've got, the thing is, these Rangers need Zordon in a way that I would argue the other Power Ranger teams never did. These people need him. They're all lost without him. That's why, you can understand Kimberly's cry to him. But on Zordon's end, you can see that it does invigorate him a little, so that he does tell them they must be strong. But he's still not offering counsel, which is very tragic. So, any thoughts on this scene?
It is hard to see someone like Zordon at his weakest point.
Because he's superhero fiction's greatest mentor.
And he's been fearing this moment 4.
Oh, well, we don't know. Well, yeah, okay, yeah, he does establish earlier in the film. Yeah, you're right. He has been dreading this sort of thing.
Because essentially, initially, locking him in that egg was kicking the can down the road.
Yeah, he hoped to kick it down eternally.
But at some point, you can't kick it down any further.
And it's really blown up in his face. Literally. Yeah, so one of the best and saddest and most shocking moments, and this is how you kind of do the subversion thing. You have the mentor torn down so that now the heroes have to step up. They have to say, all right, our mentor has fallen. We have to take into ourselves all the lessons he's taught us and prop him up and be the strong ones. We have to lead the charge. And this is a great passing of the torch. This is a great moment. But that's all the time we have for you now. So don't forget to check out our crowdfund. The link, the pre-launch link, I should say, will be in the comments section. Please do check it out. It would mean a lot to us. It has the best and stories over on Substack of the fantasy variety. So if you like fantasy stories, this is the crowdfund for you. And some of the perks are basically our stories, our novels. And we'd be more than happy to provide it for you and to send them to you. So please do consider contributing or at least sharing the crowdfund and also this video. So, don't forget to smash that like and that subscribe button as, well, we're trying to get to 500 subs. And we really like your help with that too. So remember, Rangers, may the power protect you.